Hi, everybody. Okay, so let's get started. Make sure everything is on. Make sure that you can hear me. Make sure everything is on. That you can hear me. Okay. Wow, it's going to be a really wild podcast tonight. I'm really speechless. I really am. It's just, um, and what I'm going to talk about today is Candace Owens' witness, Mitch. And so let's get started. 1,966 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. He was taken to the basement room, which is the arms room, the armory, and it is a soundproof room, and that's where they took his life. His body was stolen off of Fort Bliss. That I say that all the time, and yet I don't explain why that's so important, because Fort Bliss is such a secure base, right? It is an important base. I mean, well, all of our bases are important. It's a secure base, has cameras everywhere. And we know that DES, the Director of Emergency Services, Thomas Kane, was up to no good. We know that for a fact. He's in charge of the cameras. He's in charge of the gates, the coming and goings there. And so if he is colluding with them, if he is part of the um, trafficking that was allowing the trafficking on Fort Bliss, which clearly they were, because there's tons of evidence, official documents of the drugs of a 14-year-old girl living in the barracks for 4 months, being the stepdaughter of one of those gate guards, right? Being pimped out. I mean, uh, can you imagine her living in the barracks? And why are the barracks co-ed? Why are the barracks co-ed that they can get away with this kind of stuff? And where are the sergeants, right? Where is the health and welfare? And we know that Command Sergeant Major um, Shaky Jake, right? Shaky Jake, he he told us that they were bringing in the girls during the COVID lockdown to party, right? Um, and of course, many of those girls are mules. They carry a lot of drugs with them. This is all official documents. This is not something, I'm making up. We know that they had guns everywhere, which is also illegal. They need to be in the armory. Um, so the violations of the SOP, the standard operating procedures, were so egregious that only a high level, um, coordinated with the cartel, a scheme could make this happen. A scheme to make this happen. Of course, you would want. Richard was reporting to CPS. We know that um, CPS also hid, uh, uh, failed to answer our FOIAs, which is criminal. Um, we know that there is high level uh, from human resources. That human resources is the one that puts people in the positions. So they have to be in on this to coordinate this, um, in the CID, in the MPs, um, in the command structure, in order, and it has to be dirty, all dirty individuals that are going along with this cartel trafficking on opposed to, and of course we have Dallas Hart, which was Richard's platoon leader. We know that David Park, which was Richard's captain, is so dirty. We know that CID agent that had his credentials revoked and his badge removed from him. We know that he's dirty. To allow Leilani Hart, a confirmed convicted criminal, with all the problems that she was creating at Park University that was on post, and all the other trouble that she was creating. Why was she even allowed to have access to Fort Bliss, right? And I can go on and on and on with Nadal Baim, and because we know that G3 Bradford Bugado, which is Nadal Baim, a Palestinian arms dealer, that his son-in-law was in Richard's command, G3 32nd ADCOM, um, or AAMDC. I always say ADCOM because that's my dad, was part of that before they renamed it. So thank you, Laura, for coming on. Thank you. So who's the Epstein list? Who's on the Epstein list? Give us the names and prove it. Corey James. So, well, let me get through this Candace thing and I'll answer your question. So we know that there is a mutiny going on, right? We know that. We know that Sean Bernabe, who is a lieutenant general right now, 3-star general. We know that Donna Martin, who was IG, also a 3-star general. She's retired now, but she was provost marshal and then promoted to IG. That she was told. We met with her. We met with all of them, and we know that they are so dirty, so dirty. They're going to have to do a lot of Hail Marys to even have a chance for any kind of a future. That's for sure. They're they are just. I just can't even tell you how many individuals on Fort Bliss participated in this, and it only could be from human resources organizing it. Okay, with top people, that they had people in human resources to obey orders to get these people in their positions, because this couldn't happen without it, right? And of course we know on the civilian side, that the DA is illegal, that the medical examiner is illegal, that Jaime Esparza was in on this from the AUSA. He was the DA at the time. He took interest in Richard, with Ray Velarde, the um, um, El Mayo's billionaire cartel leader, lawyer, Ray Velarde, took interest in Richard. Their signatures are on the documents to retaliate against Richard. So Richard, everyone knew Richard, okay, because he was the uncompromised, distinguished honor graduate soldier that became a whistleblower, that did the right thing. And of course, the first thing you have to do is discredit them, right? So of course, we know that they tried to set him up and discredit him, and that they're reporting on that through Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, who works for El Paso Community Foundation, who is Woody Hunt. Woody Hunt, who controls 80% of the housing, military housing. Um, and of course, he is the Mormon faction with Connell Wenton at the FBI Mormon faction, who leaked Richard's files to the prime suspect perpetrators uh, in this investigation, who did the dirty deed against our son. Um, so this is not by mistake. We also know that the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, which has 5 seating judge, one of those judges now is um, Anthony Aoun. We know that he was dirty and knew the Mayellas. We knew the Mayellas, knows the Mayellas really well. Who are the Mayellas? They're the Walmart mass shooters family in El Paso, which the media never reported that he had close family ties in El Paso. And the Mayellas are not nobody. They are, I'm losing my voice a little. I've been talking so much. Um, they, the Mayellas, they are absolutely in the oh, federal courthouse, in the DA's office, in the FBI office, in Walmart cybersecurity. This is not just some little family. This is the Walmart mass shooters family, and they're in all of these very uh, important positions to control the case, to tamper with the case. Um, and to tamper with any videos, right? If you're at Walmart cybersecurity, and of course mental health. I mean, these are absolutely connected individuals that everyone knew who they were, and the criminal law magistrate court, I guess, gave a quid pro quo to Anthony Aoun, who is very close to the Mayellas, travels with the Mayellas. Um, and now he's a illegal judge because he was never elected. He was never elected. That's kind of like breaking news I've been wanting to share, but there's so much information going out right now. Um, it's so fast. It's so fast, um, all the information coming out. But all of those judges on the criminal law magistrate court are illegal because they're required by the Texas Constitution to be elected. That happened in 2015 because there was an amendment to make El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court a county-wide jurisdiction court. And you can look it up, you can Google it, you can AI it. Um, if you are uh, a county-wide jurisdiction court in Texas, the Texas Constitution says the judges must be elected. They're not. Every one of them is appointed, so therefore they're all fraudulent. They're all fraudulent. It's a constitutional crisis in the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, who they uh, reside over like 90% of the cases. This is very really, you can tell that they want to control the border. And we know that there are tunnels everywhere. We know that there are tunnels under the schools, especially El Paso ISD schools, which has also a dirty chief of police, Manny Chavira, in charge. And that was a quid pro quo because he didn't even have the credentials to get that job. And he was given that job after the Walmart mass shooting. Um, yeah, that, put that together. If you're, because we know that the Walmart mass shooting, especially with all this Mayella stuff, that it was tampered with, that it was orchestrated, that it was absolutely not a random, a single lone shooter rampage. No, this was organized. We know that there were a lot of gunmen with M4s. Um, and anyway, that's another podcast. Um, so this podcast by Candace Owens with her eyewitness, Mitch, I'm not going to say his whole name, even though they give his whole name. So if you haven't watched it, I would recommend it highly, um, because he is a former uh, soldier. Um, Let me see, I have some notes here to make sure. 10th Mountain. Uh, I thought that it might be different, but decades ago, he was at the border. He was at Fort Huachuca. Okay, he was in Arizona, and what he discovered, he had to place these sensors, and what he discovered was something subterranean, right? The readings were subterranean. Something was going on. And what he discovered were tunnels. It was a big tunnel. And to make a long story short, uh, he was outed. What do you call that? Um, when the cartel, this was a cartel tunnel, and he was exposed to the cartel, his identification, and he figured out that his command were involved with this tunnel, that the command knew about this tunnel, that they were involved with this tunnel, working with the cartel. Uh, y'all, this is what's happening in El Paso. You have high level um, officers, you have a mutiny going on that don't care about their oaths of office, about their country, and they're put in high positions, and they're pocketing, um, uh, criminal money for their participation in these trafficking tunnels. That's what's going on. And there's tunnels all underneath Fort Bliss, okay? And I knew that because of my dad. Um, they were like, oh, there's not tunnels. There are tunnels, and now they've been discovered since President Trump came in. He's exposing the tunnels that are go right across the border, that they were using for trafficking. There, nobody denies that. When I first came out and said that, because my dad had told me that there were tunnels all underneath us. And of course, you know, El Paso is an ancient city. It's an ancient city. It has grids. As go to Google uh, Earth. Go through the timelines. You can see that there's grids everywhere, because it's an ancient city. And of course, that if you've been to Europe, which I was so fortunate to go to Europe, I've even been to Israel. Israel has underground tunnels everywhere. Rome has underground tunnels everywhere. France, Paris has underground tunnels everywhere. This is not, an anomaly for El Paso. This is something that, is documented, and and um, I knew they existed, and so that was not a shock to me. And we got hit back, kind of like when I said Patrick Crucius was autistic, and everyone's like, no, no, no. Bob Moore came out. No, you don't know what you're talking about. And sure enough, it's now documented that he is autistic, severe mental health conditions. Um, and that matters because the way they handled the case, right? You can tell that it was orchestrated, and you can tell that um, our son's case was orchestrated, and it was a hit. And you can call it, uh, well, they wanted to get rid of him. They wanted to get rid of him. And that's what we have said from the very beginning, that this was orchestrated, and he was reporting to uh, the White House, reporting to FBI Houston, reporting to the IG, reporting to CID, reporting to Child Protective Services, reporting to 911. Um, he was reporting, and they had to discredit him. And then just days after that didn't work, um, because of the documents with Ray Velarde, um, they they killed him, right? And now he has in the line of duty. We know um, that this was absolutely a mutiny. We know that the Walmart mass shootings target was the 2020 election, was against President Trump. We know that. We know that this list of 48 senators that has been exposed of late through other huge whistleblowers in custody, um, that has meat to it, that has absolute meat to it. And now we have Mitch. Now we have Candace Owens, Mitch, who comes out and says, yeah, decades ago, I was there. I uncovered a tunnel. I uncovered that the command and the cartel were working together at Fort Huachuca. 35 years later, I went back to Fort Huachuca on September 9th. Got there on September 8th. Found the building on Fort Huachuca that I could get CID information on my case from 35 years ago. And I hope I'm saying this all right. Okay, this is just from my memory, just from what I got from the podcast. And on September 9th, he is seeking the records from 35 years ago. He stumbled into a very high level meeting of officers, uh, congressmen, um, of course, officers being Captain Neff, which is really jaw dropping because um, that connects to uh, the Charlie Kirk, his staff, and then he IDs Erica Kirk and Brian Harple, which, of course, Erica Kirk, and Brian Harple is the leader of his security, of Charlie Kirk's security. So this is just real, like jaw-dropping information that he identifies Erica Kirk and Brian Harple down there at um, with Captain Neff um, down there at Fort Huachuca. Now he says Captain Neff was so nice, was so good to him and everything. Well, they're I can tell you this, they are masters at deception. So I don't trust this Captain Neff. I think he needs to be absolutely interviewed and investigated because I, I don't, just because someone is nice, is decent to you, that doesn't mean anything anymore to me because they are masters of deception. Sean Bernabe was like, "Oh, it's because of you. It's we're getting answers. We're going to help the all of our soldiers." And they spoon out all this honey while underneath they're just very dirty. And so there are very, for $1 billion you can be, or millions of dollars, or even thousands of dollars, that you're pocketing. You could absolutely pull out your niceness deception, right? So I don't trust that. And I don't know um if he, I just think he needs to be questioned and also interviewed, because that's to same thing with Erica Kirk, same thing with Brian Harple, um and this congressman, right? Yeah, I wrote it down, but um anyway, this is absolutely corroborating evidence of the tunnels, of the orchestrating between leadership and the cartels, and of course the Mormon faction. Okay, um, and now let's get to this question. Um, this Epstein list. So what we know is that, and you can tell these guys are, yeah, um, you can tell I'm going to have to delete some of these people on here because you can tell that we're over the target. That's why they come in and do their little chats, to try to um, uh, change the whole subject. But I will say this, that Fort Bliss is huge, and it includes White Sands. And right above White Sands is, because White Sands is huge, y'all, and especially when you look at the maps of it, it goes very far north, and it borders on Epstein's Zorro Ranch. Okay, so, and and of course, so the flights, the beacon, the Odo beacon, um, that, oh, and this is another thing that the interview uh, reveals, is that they fly in and they turn off their transponders, right? So we know that they do dirty things with these flights. Um, the point about Trump, if Trump was in on it, okay, then he would not be bombing these cartel boats and these ships. He would not be um, pressuring Mexico into revealing Plenitude Crematorium. He would not um, designate cartels as FTOs. He would not designate fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. He would not do these things that he is doing, issuing an in the line of duty um, for Richard. Okay? He would not do that. He would not write the letters that he did. There was no reason to write us any letters, except for to say that he's going to get accountability. Okay. Trump's actions, you know him by his actions. And yes, uh, was he in these billionaire circles? Yes, he was. Were there billionaires that were uh, getting their money in means that were not good, dirty? Yes. Um, but he would not, if he's on that list, and even if he is on that list, he would not be doing what he's doing now if he was trying to cover it up. Okay? Because this is exposing it. What he's done exposed that right above White Sands with the Odo beacon, that is like 4 miles from the runway of Zorro Ranch, because they have their own runway, right? Um, so he would not have done what he did in 2019, the arrest of Epstein. Okay, that was under President Trump. So I think the real culprits in this, and I did ask the question today, is Obama involved in this? And I can tell you right now, we have indications that Obama is involved in what is going on in El Paso. Of course he is. We have indications for that. You're talking about border activity into the billions of dollars. And he was, you know, President of the United States. And I can tell you right now that Southcom general, Marine General John, um, oh, what's his name? Kelly, John Kelly, uh, absolutely is so dirty that he went over and worked for the cartels. He worked for um, Governor Maru Campos as a uh, security, an analyst or a security advisor, right? As a security advisor. And Maru Campos is confirmed to be Sinaloa, Chapitos faction Sinaloa. So this is Southcom General who was DHS. I don't know, making lots of money off of his business, providing for these children camps.
Mm.
I mean, he's so dirty. He wanted those uh, migrants to come, the children to come over, and now we don't even know what happened to the children. Right? I think 500,000 were trafficked, and they found 60,000. 500,000 that we know of in those two and a half years were trafficked. So just uh, this is absolutely corroborating information. These stories, they're just I was just speechless. It's just jaw dropping because this happened uh, 35 years ago, over 35 years ago. They were doing it. I think that they have fine tuned their trafficking and all of their human resource positions and everything to carry this on. And it just, we need accountability. And it ended up with many, many people's lives, including our sons. So, and to come on and laugh and everything, this is not funny. You have 500,000 children, and they're performing the worst type of crimes against children. And how do we know that? Because they let a 14-year-old girl 4 months be pimped out in the barracks. We have Leilani Hart confessing in an affidavit, in a notarized document, as admitting and confessing to facilitating the worst type of crimes against children that are even active duty um, uh, children from active duty soldiers. So this is not funny, and this is also um, about the life of our son. So thank you so much, and thank you for coming in. Absolutely, Trump, 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 and he's under mutiny now. 48 senators involved in this. So thank you so much, everybody.